Mercy, the act of withholding deserved punishment, always costs the giver something. There is always a price to pay to right a wrong. Leviticus shows us just how dear that price is. The Bible is interesting, sufficient, infallible, trustworthy, and not boring. If you like the content, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. This whole book is going to be interesting to go through, as there are major differences in how modern society functions compared to ancient biblical times. Leviticus 1 starts us right off the bat with a bloody picture. We've got animals dying all over the place. Verse 4 starts to get into why. The Lord will accept its death in your place. Wait, what? This verse says we deserve to die for separating ourselves from God. Why is that? What's so bad about being apart from God? Well, until God said so in Genesis, there was nothing. God is the source of life, and apart from Him, there is no life. If you try to grab your life from God's hands, the payment is to give your life back to Him. God, in His mercy, has allowed a temporary payment in the form of an animal life. It is completely reasonable that the only payment that could cover the cost of a life is another life. In fact, our lives are so valuable to God that the sacrifice of an animal was only temporary. Because we are so valuable, there is a huge cost to regain right relationship with God. I couldn't find any references to a typical number of sacrifices over the course of someone's lifetime, but it was a lot more than one. Our lives are much more valuable than any number of animals. In fact, there was only one possible sacrifice that could bring us back to good standing with God. A sacrifice more valuable than all animals and more valuable than every human who has ever lived. That doesn't happen in Leviticus, though. And with that, let's read the not boring Bible. Leviticus chapter 1. The Lord called to Moses from the tabernacle and said to him, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you present an animal as an offering to the Lord, you may take it from your herd of cattle or your flock of sheep and goats. If the animal you present as a burnt offering is from the herd, it must be a male with no defects. Bring it to the entrance of the tabernacle, so you may be accepted by the Lord. Lay your hand on the animal's head, and the Lord will accept its death in your place to purify you, making you right with Him. Then slaughter the young bull in the Lord's presence, and Aaron's sons the priests will present the animal's blood by splattering it against all sides of the altar that stands at the entrance to the tabernacle. Then skin the animal and cut it into pieces. The sons of Aaron the priest will build a wood fire on the altar. They will arrange the pieces of the offering, including the head and fat, on the wood burning on the altar. But the internal organs and the legs must first be washed with water. Then the priest will burn the entire sacrifice on the altar as a burnt offering. It is a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. If the animal you present as a burnt offering is from the flock, it may be either a sheep or a goat, but it must be a male with no defects. Slaughter the animal on the north side of the altar in the Lord's presence, and Aaron's sons, the priests, will splatter its blood against all sides of the altar. Then cut the animal in pieces, and the priests will arrange the pieces of the offering, including the head and fat, on the wood burning on the altar. But the internal organs and the legs must first be washed with water. Then the priests will burn the entire sacrifice on the altar as a burnt offering. It is a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. If you present a bird as an offering to the Lord, choose either a turtle dove or a young pigeon. The priest will take the bird to the altar, wring off its head, and burn it on the altar. But first he must drain its blood against the side of the altar. The priest must also remove the crop and the feathers, and throw them in the ashes on the east side of the altar. Then, grasping the bird by its wings, the priest will tear the bird open. but without tearing it apart. Then he will burn it as a burnt offering on the wood burning on the altar. It is a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. I hope you enjoyed some not boring Bible reading.